Hi, I got a very interesting question the other day. Is there an AI bubble going on? All right, that's an amazing question, very relevant for today's topics, right? The short answer is yes. I think it is so obvious to see that there's a bubble going on. To understand this whole paradigm, let's take a step back, right? You know, the old 95, 2000, the dot-com bubble, right? That also was very similar to AI, right? Where there was a lot of attention going in due to the dot-com boom and where mass investors came in and just put in this value and the entire thing collapsed. Somewhat similar, we are going through this AI bubble as well, right? It's gonna collapse at some point, but it won't be something like the dot-com bubble. It will be something different, right? Because it won't be entire collapse, right? So what causes a bubble is that there is a frenzy. Like there is, if you look at any kind of a product or any vertical, there is an intrinsic value, right? So that intrinsic value, if it is inflated in some form, right, and there is massive demand to purchase that product or let's say vertical, then that is where the bubble takes place, right? So this is what is happening to AI as well. There is a reason for that, right? The reason for that is the investors, mostly retail investors, don't understand AI technology. They do not understand what drives AI technology, right? So they just listen to some hype and they go and invest, right? That's one of the biggest reasons this bubble is formed, right? A good example was Build AI, right? There's a person called Sachin, and he did this startup. It was valued at a crazy amount, right? Something like $1.5 billion or something, and it promised a AI app builder, but in reality, the backend was powered by manual engineers, something like 700, 800 engineers seated from Asia were actually doing manual work, but the front end promised AI technology. Now, this is a classic example of a bubble which is happening today because there are different levels of AI, right? On the top, you get these main key providers like OpenAI, Gemini, Claude, Anthropic, and all those things. These people have different problems going on, but their core is still safe because they have tapped onto something very strong, right? Now, on the second layer, you get all the new parties who have already figured out the inference, the LLMs, the self-learning models, and all those things, and who are coming up with these new open source models, fundamentally developed by, like the, let's say, the Chinese people, right? So there is a battle going on at that top level, which again contributes to this bubble. But more than anything, I think it's the third layer where you get a huge number of startups coming in and they are selling their startups with AI like a flavor or like a vanilla. They're just putting it like a flavor and putting it out. And that is where the real problem is, right? Because the investors, they look at the pitch deck and they look at the valuations and a couple of other things, but they don't go deep inside to understand whether this product is actually the contribution to from AI. How much is it? What percentage? If AI is taken out, will the product collapse? They really don't ask the hard and tough questions, right? As long as AI is there in some form or another, they think that's the magical solution, and that is the reason I believe more than anything this bubble is there right now, right? I don't know how it's gonna pan out. It may diffuse and become smaller. It may not burst as such, or it may actually go up and burst. We really don't know how it's gonna pan out. But my answer is yes, there is definitely a bubble going on, and we just have to wait and see what's going on. But I would say if the authorities and the entities who are controlling this whole thing, if they can have some sort of a control, a governance coming in quickly and validating, what is this AI? If somebody is saying a product or service is powered by AI, what is the actual percentage of it? How exactly is it working? If they can go into the backend details, which surprisingly most people don't, because the investors themselves are in it for the quick bucks, right? They just see something, they invest something, and the stock price goes up, and 3 months down the road, they sell it to somebody else. So it's like passing of this, sometimes these rubbish stocks, which becomes bigger the problem, right? But I think if there is some sort of a governance, this bubble can be controlled. The short answer is yes, there's a bubble going on. Thank you.